When you survive a life-threatening car accident and are told you have 3 days to live, life can take quite a turn. From being in a hospital bed to building a business with mindset and mindfulness at the core. This is my conversation with Jessica West. Let's take it back to the beginning. Why don't you tell me where your career first began?
Where I am today, it was really like a whole roller coaster of a ride, which I'm sure is similar for many of us, right? Like
Yes.
life likes to take us on this journey. My original career path was going to be an accountant. So I was doing my bachelor's degree in accounting. And right before I was going to graduate, I don't know if any of your audience is familiar with what happened in the accounting world. Originally, we had different designations that we can go into. My path was going to be certified management accountant because I really wanted to work with a team and like just help build businesses and be the accountant for the business. However, they decided to combine all of the three designations into one, the CPA, the Certified Public Accountant, which meant that I then needed to do a whole bunch of tax classes. And the tax class was like, no for me. So the thought of having to do it for another 3 years, and that wasn't even the path that I wanted to go into, kind of left me wondering, like, what route do I want to take? Like, is this really something that I want to do? And what can I do with just like my business bachelor's degree? I wasn't really sure, wondering if I should take a pause. I was working at a natural health food store at the time, and I had recently adopted a plant-based diet. And then I got offered a management position where they were going to pay for my education to become a holistic nutritionist. So then at that point, I was like, okay, schooling is going to go on pause. Let me pursue this because this is what is really fueling me right now and really lighting me up. Shortly after that, I got into a serious motor vehicle accident. And I wasn't expected to survive the next 3 days. So that totally put my life on pause. When I woke up in the hospital, I was informed that I had sustained a serious traumatic brain injury. And because of that, I wasn't expected to complete my schooling, wasn't expected to go back to work, wasn't expected to live independently for the rest of my life. And then it was like, good luck with a social life because no one's really going to resonate with you after that.
Mhm.
And so I had to return back home and live with my mom for the next 3 years because I was in full-time recovery, completely out of the working world, the education world, and just in recovery.
Mm.
And so during that time, I was really starting to think like, okay, what is it that I want to do now? And at that point, I was really feeling like, I think I just want to maybe clean up my life a little bit because I was so close to finishing my bachelor's degree. I was maybe like 6 courses away. And so I finished it. And because of that, I don't know if it's the same in the United States, but we have, it's called the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund. And this is a government funding program that assists new graduates to get jobs, employment in certain organizations, and they get like subsidized for that. And it's a year contract. So because I had recently graduated with my degree, I was able to get a contract position at my economic development corporation, where I was then working with a whole bunch of entrepreneurs in the community, really networking in the community and meeting just incredible people and business owners. And so that really got me starting to think, this is really cool. Maybe this is something that I could do. So once that contract had ended, I decided to start my own business. And that first business was a product-based business. It was brewing kombucha, fermented tea. And the reason for that was because I was having the plant-based diet, really into nutrition, obviously having a little bit of education in holistic nutrition. So I was brewing it myself at home, sharing it with friends at that point. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to start sharing this at the local farmers market. And it just took off. Everybody loved it. I got so much support of the community. And of course, because I had known and networked with a lot of entrepreneurs, I was able to scale it that way. And so within 2 years, I was able to scale it to 24 stores around my region in the north. I was the first kombucha business in Northern Ontario to exist, basically. And so I did that for 2 years. It was really rewarding. And I loved the network that it helped me form, the experience that it got me to form, everything. Like it really fueled everything that I am today.
Do you think that gave you the confidence and like really helped you in your healing journey too? Because at that point you were still healing from your accident. Is that right?
It really did help with the confidence. It really did. And because I truly believe that one of the best forms of personal development is entrepreneurship, because you really get to know yourself when you're so focused on the results, and when you recognize that, oh, like the results that I'm getting in my business, it's largely dependent on me, on my mindset, on how I could show up, on my discipline, all of those things. And so when that was like right in front of me, in addition, at this point I had healed physically, and this was more like the kind of mental component and the discipline and how I can really like show up, right?
Mhm.
And keep going. It was a lot of like, how much energy do I have too? Because my energy was a little like lower then too. And it really started my journey, because what I had realized was that I desperately wanted to be able to share the experience that I had had, being so close to death, having that transformation that I had had, because I was originally told that I was going to be a dependent for the rest of my life. But then after the 3-year mark, I was able to regain my independence, go back to work full time, complete my school, like really defy all of the limits that I was told from healthcare professionals. And so I felt like I really want to share this with others. I started to notice, well, hang on a second. I am actually scared to speak up and share my own story, even though I was having such success with the kombucha business and sharing the product, speaking in front of people. I had done a pitch competition for my business and won first place, won $10,000 for my business, was able to do so many things, did interviews on the business and everything. And I loved, being able to speak and share. But I recognized that, oh, but I'm not sharing what I'm actually passionate about and what I actually want to share with others, which is really just believe in yourself and let's go and make, the impact that we want to make
Mhm.
while we have the chance to be able to do it. And so it was noticing like, where's the resistance that I have within myself to not want to share my actual story, to instead, what I noticed was that I was almost in a way like hiding behind a product or hiding behind something else. I had no problem to go out and speak about, the benefits of the product or anything like that. But as soon as it came to my story, I would kind of refrain. It was very interesting. And while I started to do all of that kind of introspection, this is when I really started to make the pivot in my business again, because then when I started to recognize that, hold on, I don't actually need anything to prove my worth. I don't need something to tell me that my story is worthy of being heard, or I'm worthy of sharing my story. And so once I started to recognize that, that's when I launched my podcast. I had published a book at that time, and I started to do more speaking engagements, but just about me, about Jessica and her story and what she experienced. And that's really what led me to where I am today. At that point, when I started to get momentum in my story, then I made the decision that, okay, it's time to let go of the product-based business and really go full-time into the online world, into speaking, into sharing my truth, because this is kind of taking more priority, and it was getting busier at that point, whereas, couldn't really manage both anymore. And this is ultimately really my passion. And so that was my whole journey.
I love the growth that you had throughout all of that, because I think, and I've spoken to women on the podcast who have had physical limitations and accidents that really shape them, and how sometimes it does make you go back into your shell and hide away rather than go out and say, what can I create because I did overcome this and I want to share this and inspire other people. And you were able to do that with both businesses. So it sounds like you were balancing both. You were creating your online business and your Jessica presence while you were running the product-based business. How were you managing both at first? Did you think you could handle both and maybe run both successfully, or were you kind of dipping your toe into the online space to see if it would work first?
Yeah, that's a great point. At first, I honestly thought that I was able to do both. I kind of thought I could do it all. And I was seeing other entrepreneurs who were hosting events, for example, So I don't know if you know of Barb Stageman, I believe her name is. She's the founder of the perfume Seven Virtues, that product line. And she was like my inspiration with this because when I was working at the Economic Development Corporation, we actually hosted her into our local community to come and speak. Now, she has a perfume line that she sources essential oils from countries that are facing war, like Afghanistan and third world countries, a social enterprise. So she buys the supplies from the raw materials from there to be able to source their economics. So she goes and speaks about how the products are made, shares her story, shares her friend's story, which was the inspiration behind the business. And it is amazing. It's incredible. And then she sells her perfume and her book after the event. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, well, maybe I can host events, sell my kombucha, and share my story. So I thought the more that I grow my kombucha, maybe then the more that I can grow me being asked to go and speak. So I thought I could grow both together. But the more that I started to realize just how much work is involved in really scaling a product-based business, I was like, ooh, for one, there's no way that I can do this on my own. I'd have to get investors and it'd have to become something so much bigger. And I feel like there would be so much of my involvement in that where I wouldn't actually really be able just to share.
Yeah.
And again, when I started to recognize that, well, hold on, I could just share. So why am I building all of this when I can really just do what it is that I want with a little less resistance? So that was ultimately the pivotal moment.
I think it comes down to what your heart is telling you. And I went through that when I decided to sell my franchise business because I was running my franchise business and my coaching business at the same time for several years. And I felt that same imbalance of which one is my priority and how can I grow this new business if I still have this one. And I even had a really large team, but I still felt like I was being pulled into it more than I wanted. And for me, it was kind of a shift in my priorities and my heart of, okay, I served families and children with this franchise, but I really want to help other women. So my priorities shifted, and that's when I decided to sell one and really focus. And it sounds like maybe your priorities shifted too, and you love the product-based business, but now you wanted to see if you could take on this challenge of growing the Jessica business and getting out there in front of people in a different way. You saw success with your first. So isn't it kind of a cool feeling of saying, let me put it all together and try to grow this other business too?
Yeah, absolutely. And then so empowering too, again, because then it's how can I grow this? I kind of have the foundation. I
Yeah.
have the connections, like literally the product-based business really set those foundations, made the connections, all of the things. I mean, I got the entrepreneurial mindset. And so now I kind of know what to do. Let me do this for my own brand. Though, even though when I'm saying that I doing the switch from product-based to completely online was a learning curve in its own in terms of discipline and okay, what am I actually doing on the day to day? Because there is no physical product that I have to go, label or package up or anything like that. So it was a different learning curve as with anything. But yeah, it definitely did make it easier because it was like I'm doing this a second time around.
Right. It's a puzzle. I always look at it like a puzzle. Like, okay, I did it once. Let me put all the pieces together and see what I can grow this time. And it does become that kind of self-inflicted challenge or that adventure. Let's see how we can do this. So tell me about that process. Tell me about the business that you ultimately grew in the online space that you have now and how you decided what you wanted it to become.
I feel like once you start getting into business, and I believe I said this on my podcast during our episode when we were talking, because sometimes when you get into it, it's almost like the universe kind of shows you the direction that you are supposed to go into. So I started my podcast first. That was the first thing that I did when I decided to pivot into the online space. And doing that and just being able to actually speak out loud, share the thoughts, interview so many incredible people, I started to really realize, okay, which area like really does light me up. And then I was building another audience basically, because now it was an audience for a different topic, not kombucha anymore. And so hearing the response from the audience, it really allowed me to see like, okay, who am I talking to? Where is this going? And it really shaped where I am today. And then one thing kind of led to the other from there. So as I was sharing on my podcast, and my podcast was getting really big and noticed, people would come to me and start asking, well, how did you do it? How did you start your podcast? And so I thought, okay, well, this is what I can help people with starting first, because I think, again, podcasting is such a great way to really start sharing your authenticity, step into your visibility, gain your confidence. Being a certified mindset coach, there's not enough mindset techniques on its own that we can do to actually gain the confidence without actually going and just taking that action and doing something. And I feel like podcasting is such a beautiful way to really be able to step into that and learn about yourself, learn about what you're interested in. And at the same time, you're building an audience of people who are joining you on their journey. And so that's really how it started. From there, just starting to notice the industry of podcasting, like what were people's main challenges or concerns with starting a podcast. And there was a lot of, well, like, do I have anything important to share? Is the market kind of saturated? There's so many podcasts already out there, like, who am I? And so I started to see those concerns, really that self-worth, that confidence, but then also in people who have started their podcast, being able to keep it up and build something sustainable. And so when I started to see what are some of the things that are impacting the industry and what are some of the struggles that people are working with internally, I'm more about like the mindset, what are the stories that we're telling ourselves? Then I was really able to, again, continue to tweak my offerings to really be able to address some of these areas so that ultimately I'm helping people find their voice, really show up the way that they want to in the online space, and ultimately make the impact that they want, impact the lives and share their incredible stories, because we've all been through such incredible things that can really help another when we step into our confidence and share that.
Yeah, and you were able to share your story, which was probably cathartic. And now you're teaching others how they can share theirs and just open up their world and really step into their authentic self. So, what is the name of your business and what do you really offer your clients now at this point?
The business name is Tresor House. Now, that is, Tresor is a French word for treasure. My original product-based business was Tresor Kombucha. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to put it Tresor House, because I really want this to be more of a container, like a safe space. Like when people come into my world, come into the business, is a space where they feel like, I can work on myself. And it's also, I'm really big on like putting so much meaning into everything, because I really want people to know that like you are really the treasure of your life. What I've noticed with all of the mindset certifications that I have, but then also with my near-death experience in itself, like just recognizing how much power we have in our life. We're literally the focal point. And so when people come in, I really want to put the power back onto them, recognize their self-worth, build that up, build their confidence. And so the services within Tresor House is really subconscious reprogramming and mindset work and coaching to really step into that version of yourself, your highest self, your most empowered version, working with the mind, looking at those limiting internal narratives, looking at those limiting beliefs that we picked up from life around us and in those little ages when we were so susceptible to, the words that were going on around us, what people were saying, the experiences. And so we rewire the mind so that we can really recognize our self-worth and really recognize the power in our own story. I believe that's step one. From there, I help people launch their podcast to really start solidifying that belief in themselves and really finding themselves through taking that action. And again, entrepreneurship is such a great form of personal development. It's really starting to notice that. And then later on, once you're kind of in Tresor House, you're starting your online business, then we also offer a software to really be able to automate your business, go back to doing what it is that you love to do. Because when we're solo entrepreneurs and then we're caught up doing the marketing and the emails, like all of the things, we can end up exhausting ourselves, hitting burnout, and then we ultimately don't end up doing what it is that we want to do, or not even to the fullest capacity that we can, because we're so tied up in everything else. So it really helps you to streamline your business so that you can get back to being that light that you are and really serving the people that you're meant to serve.
And I love how you just bring it all together.
It's taking action because so many of us, we want to sit back or just wait for everything to be perfect before I start. Just start. These are the tools to get going, and you're going to learn so much about yourself, about your interests, about all of it along the way in taking that action.
And you share so much on your podcast, the Feminine Initiate podcast. What is your favorite thing that I guess you learned in doing the podcast that you want other people who are thinking about starting a podcast to be aware of?
Even with all of the stories that I highlight, it really comes down to having that belief in yourself. And if you want to do something, then go and do it. You don't need permission from anybody or anything else outside of yourself. Like, you need the decision within yourself. What I really hope to share and evoke through the podcast is interviewing incredible people who just made the things that they want happen in their life. And it doesn't mean that it was a breeze and it was so easy, but they took that first step and they did it. And they're no different than you. And like, you can do the same thing. So it really is just to take that first step, to be the initiate in your life and initiate the things that you want.
And to create that life where you don't have regrets at the end of the day. I think it's all about empowering your mind and yourself to take action now. Like you're saying, there's no perfect time to start any kind of second act. You were self-aware enough to listen to those signs as you were building your product-based business that, this was great, but it's not the end all be all. So let me figure out what that is. And you listened to those voices and took that direction.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't really stress that. But the moment when I did wake up in the hospital and then I had all of those limitations placed upon me, was told that I was going to be dependent for the rest of my life, I did have a moment where I was thinking back to my life and I thought, well, why didn't I just live it the way that I wanted? Why didn't I do the things that I really wanted to do while I had the chance to do it?
Yeah.
Because I may not be able to do it anymore. How could I have wasted that? And I think that moment really fuels me forward when I recognize that prior to that moment, I didn't have any physical limitations at all in my life. The only thing that was limiting me from doing the things that I wanted to do was myself, my own internal narratives. So that's what really keeps driving me forward, is that I don't want to get to that day again where it really is too late, where I don't have that second chance. That was a big thing for me. And I just keep saying yes to the things that light me up in the moment. I'm like, yes, 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 I'll do that. And then I learn more along the way. That's really the only way that we're going to learn more.
Where are you right now compared to where you were with the product-based business? Are you feeling more fulfilled today than you were maybe a few years ago?
That is such a great question. I do really feel more fulfilled. I get like this excitement feeling. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that it's every morning, but many mornings I'll just get this feeling when I look around. I'm like, ooh, I'm so excited for today. I'm so excited to be doing what it is that I really want to do, whether it be to be going to have this podcast interview or go to create my own podcast episode or do a live in my group or meet my clients. It's just so exciting to really be able to do what I'm doing and share this information and then see my clients launch their businesses, launch their podcasts, really share their messages. It is just so beautiful. And so really the work that I'm doing now just lights me up. And it's so different than what it was when I was having the product business. There's no regrets because everything really did build to this moment. And where I am now, I need it all. It's all like valuable information that made me who I am today.
Jess, I love that. I know my listeners are going to get so much out of this conversation and you and your positivity and your outlook on life and business. So, where are all the places that my listeners can connect with you?
They can tune into my podcast, Feminine Initiate, on whatever podcast platform or on YouTube that they listen to. They can go to my website, tresorhouse.ca, where they can learn more about me and my podcasting program. And they can connect with me on my socials. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn at Jessica LM West.
Perfect. I'll link to everything in the show notes. Thank you for being here and being so open with your story through all the different twists and turns that life has thrown your way to get you to building this incredible business that's truly helping others and your incredible podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Shannon. It was so great to be here and to chat with you again.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you found some gems of inspiration and some takeaways to help you on your path to second act success. To view show notes from this episode, visit secondactsuccess.co. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Reviews only take a few moments and they really do mean so much. Thank you again for listening. I'm Shannon Russell, and this is Second Act Success.